if you wouldn't mind.
Sure, I can just quickly go back through give Cliff Notes. So we are the Doñana County Humane Society. We offer 3 programs, the largest being the Animal Relief Fund, which issues veterinary care vouchers to low-income Doñana County residents. They include veterinary care voucher, vaccination voucher, and long-term medication vouchers. Currently, we have issued 436 vouchers and close to $103,000 in ARF assistance. The Rough to Ready program assists dogs who are recently adopted or fostered from the ASCMV or Action Programs for Animals. We provide 2 free trainings per pet to help keep them in the home and keep them from being resurrendered to the shelter. Our Pets for Seniors program provides a $25 discount for people ages 60 and over who adopt from the ASCMV. The goal of the program is to keep seniors, to help seniors find companionship and help shelter pets find loving homes. To date, from the Animal Service Center, 70 pets have been adopted. We are funded through planned gifts, bequests, grants, individual donors, and private family foundations. The Pets for Seniors and Rough to Ready program are funded by the Humane Society and individual donors. And so you can donate to us. You can always inquire more by contacting our office as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And thank you for kind of going through that again. Appreciate your patience with us. And thank you so much and for everything you do in the community.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, we're on to agenda item 5.2, which will be the city and county ACO reports. We will start with the county ACO reports. Mr. Halsey, good morning.
Good morning, Chair and members. I'm here to present the numbers for the county animal control. Let me just bring that up. All right, so these are our February numbers for Doñana County Animal Control. For reported stray animals, we had 360 reported stray animals. Out of those, 198 stray animals were picked up. We had 51 stray cats and 147 stray dogs. We had 16 sick or injured animals, 6 cats and 10 dogs. And we had 16 owner surrender animals, and they were all dogs. This is our reported stray comparison for the 4 years. And this is our 4-year field return to owner comparison. For February, we had 24. Additional animals picked up, we had 0 owner surrender cats, we had 16 owner surrender dogs, we had 16 injured animals, we had 2 welfare hold animals. For the month of February, we had 2 animals that were picked up on the same property that were cruelty animal abandonment that we ended up picking up. We had 6 shelter quarantine animals, 6 home quarantine. We had 2 other cases that were either quarantine cases. Live evidence, we are currently holding 6 animals. We had 0 rabies submissions. We had 31 diverted intakes. Those again are animals that we were able to keep out of the shelter that did not get to them. We had 533 educational things during that month, and for calls we had 785 calls. These are our calls or our pickups for cats and dogs per district. For District 1, we had a total of 24. District 2, 21. District 3, we had 33. District 4, 37. Again, District 4 seems to be our big one for the last several months. It's an area that we're hitting hard. District 5, we had 20. District 6, we had 36. And District 7 was pretty low for us. It was 27. That's pretty low for what we're normally getting for that area. These are our stray cats picked up. In District 5 was the biggest area that we had for cats for February. We were hitting that area with our ACEs project, so that's probably why we had a little bit more of an uptick in that area than normal. For stray dogs, it was pretty hard, pretty hit around all of our districts. And then our reasons for owner surrender, we had 2 that were aggressive, we had 5 that were vicious, we had 1 for a livestock attack, we had 4 that they were just unable to keep on the property, we had 2 that were sick and injured, we had 1 that had behavioral issues, and 1 that had old age issues. And for that, I stand for any questions.
Thank you. Board, are there any questions? Commissioner.
Just a comment. Thank you for using the new branded PowerPoint presentations. It looks really snazzy. I really enjoy it, so I always point that out. Thank you. But great presentation as always.
Thank you, Commissioner. Counselor.
Thank you. I just bring a comment. I know that there were, Mary Lou, and I know that you all held up an interagency task force to address the Pickwick band of roving dogs, and you just recently apprehended most of them. So I wanted to thank you all for Councilor Matisse came by and was heaping praise on your team for making that happen. So I just wanted to extend that to you. That gratitude. I think that's in the 29 dogs in that district, I suspect. Well, no, it was just in the last week, so maybe not. But next month, we'll see them on the apprehension list. So he was really thankful for that, so I just wanted to convey that to you all. Thank you.
Yeah, we've been working hard on getting those out of there, so along with the Messia in the city.
Mr. Halsey, I know you talked about the animal cruelty cases, or 2 that were removed. Do you know if there's going to be any pending actions possibly coming for those or not?
We are currently still on an active case on that one. The house was a foreclosed house, and so the dogs weren't chipped, so we don't know exactly who owned the dogs, but we are in the process of finding that out.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Well, appreciate it. Thank you all so much.
Good morning.
Good
I'm
morning.
Officer Torres with the City of Las Cruces Animal Control. I'll be filling in for Supervisor Jimenez today. And I'll be presenting the February numbers for City of Las Cruces. Is it? How do you make it bigger? Thank you. I pushed F8. So these are the reported stray animals for the month of February. We had a total of 456 reported stray animals. 210 were gone on arrival. 246 stray animals were apprehended. 201 strays impounded at the shelter. 102 of those were dogs, 99 cats. 45 successful field returns, 18 unsuccessful attempted field returns had to be impounded at the shelter, and a total of 63 identifiable stray animals. The reported stray animal calls on a 3-year comparison. For February of 2024, we're currently at 456 compared to 476 last year and 444 for 2022. This is the 3-year field return to owner comparison. For February, we have a total of 45. Last year was a total of 39. 2022, we had 51. These are the peak performance measures. 10% reduction of stray animal bite responses. In 2024, we have 11 reported stray animal bites compared to 32 for 2023. And then 10% reduction in owner-victim bite responses. 2024 showing 18 reported owner-victim animal bites compared to 13 for 2023. This is our community cat program. Cats in trap calls, total of 97 for February, and 11 of those were released. Compared to 2023, we had a total of 107, 12 of those were released. Reasons for owner releasing animals, 14 were dogs unable to care for, 6 dogs due to aggression, 6 puppies unable to care for, 4 dogs were old and sick, euthanasia was requested, and 2 dogs were sick. Reasons unable to field RTO, 11 of those were no contact by phone or residents. 3 dogs were chipped but not registered. 1 cat also not registered. 1 dog owner was out of town. 1 dog registered owner no longer owned that dog. And 1 dog was registered, but owner hung up on ACO when attempted to return. The monthly calls for service for February are at 1,033 compared to, or year to date is 2,113. Highlights are 1 ACO vacancy, but we are working with HR to fill this position currently. I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Officer Torres. Are there any questions, comments? Yeah, we're quite a bunch today. So thank you so much. Appreciate the updates.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Agenda item 5.3, shelter statistics and activities by Mr. Clint Thacker.
Good morning, Board. Clint Thacker, Executive Director at the ASCMV. Talk to you today about our numbers from February of 2024. By the way, February went by fast. I don't know where it went, but it was incredible. We had, to date right now, 346 animals at the center compared to last year at 419. So we are down a little bit.
It's almost like you would think that February had a few missing days.
Less days, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. The intake, however, our current numbers are down, but the intake is exactly the same. You see compared to 2023, 728 animals came in, and the dogs and cats and other listed there. So this is how those 728 came into the center. Our number 1 is always going to be strays by ACOs. That's their job. We expect for them to continue to do that. However, if you look closely at the strays by public, that means people found animals, brought them to us, and then owner surrender. Owner surrender is actually higher than the strays by the public, 16.6% and 16.2% for strays by public. This is very alarming. It tells me that there are resources out there that need to be given to these individuals. That is a program that we do. We do talk to and meet with the owner surrenders, find out why they're surrendering, what we can do to help them. We'll do everything from, my dog's pregnant, can't keep it with the puppies, well, let's sterilize it for you, to I just can't afford dog food. Well, here's a bag, help you get through. We do everything we can. We do not want your animal, believe it or not. So we'll do what we can. And then only 8 animals were returned. In other words, they came in from adoptions. So, and then wildlife too. Born in care, we had 25. We have a whole area in the medical facility right now that's just mom and puppies because they're coming in with them, or they have them right after being brought in. Here's the returns: 7 for the dogs, 1 for the cat. Behavior problem. In our staff meeting yesterday, our cat Henry, our shelter cat Henry, was on the table sitting and looking right at me, and there's staff all around. And I said, like behavior problem for a cat. And we all look at Henry, and he has that eyes half closed look he gives you, like, shut up. I'm like, no wonder behavior problems, man. So again, we talk with everybody that comes in. We encourage the power of 3. We call it 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, so the animal can get adjusted. We always talk about that with them on the phone, but sometimes it's just not going to happen, and we understand that. Diverted intakes. This is anytime somebody comes to the center with an animal, we'll do all that we can to have that animal not come into the center. For instance, if it's a stray or a stray animal, we'll say, can you go walk around, put up lost found, things like that. And if they can, that's fantastic. It's counted as a diverted intake. If not, they say, absolutely not, I can't do it. We'll take the animal. It's not a yes or no situation. So these are how that 728 left the center. The 135 adoptions, 96 reclaims, rescues, 171. Fantastic job by our rescue coordinators connecting those dots. The community cats is 104. And then, unfortunately, the highest one there is euthanasia at 200. So 27.5% of the animals that came into the center in February were euthanized. So that leaves us with a live release rate of 71.8. This is, again, the number of animals that came in that left alive is 71.8%. February transfers, again, 171. This gives you a breakdown of where they went to. Colorado Puppy Rescue is usually a big one. We appreciate working with them. Halo, 37 dogs went out. Halo was really good timing because that was when we had some power washing done in the center by a member of the citizens. We're very grateful for him stepping forward and doing that, but they came in, so we were able to transfer a lot of the animals into those empty spaces and empty out the kennel without having to do a guilt plea out to the public or have to euthanize the animals. So we're grateful for that. Big action programs for animals. They always take our troubled youth, we like to call it, ones that have issues. And so every animal they take, 4 looks like a small number, but 9 times out of 10, those are animals with issues. So we're so appreciative for their support in that, in taking those hard ones. I do want to let you know that Action Programs for Animals is, they're losing one of their top people. Nora, fantastic at what she does. They're running the facility. So if you're interested, then please apply. I don't know if any of you are interested, but people out that are listening, the 1 or 2 that are listening may be interested to know. So please apply. These are euthanasia reasons. Number 1 reason for dogs is behavior, but space is connected onto that. What that means is animals may have a behavior issue, and if we had the space, we would work with that behavior. But since we don't, that's what it's called, is space behavior. And the next one is space general, meaning that is pretty much a euthanasia for space. The animal really, or the dog really doesn't have anything wrong with it. We haven't done that. We have for the past month or 2, but it's been years before we've had to do that. So that's sad. That makes me hurt every time I have to see those. And I feel bad for those that, all the other reasons are reasons that you can justify in your mind why you're euthanizing, but not for those 32. That one's hard. Number 1 reason for cats is the feral behavior. Our surgeries, they are continuing to do phenomenal work. 386 surgeries in 2024 compared to the 296. So they're on track to go more than the 4,000 they did last year. Again, TNR continues to be the number 1 highest, and then you see animals that are adopted, and then animals that are shelter or foster property are done. And then other is any surgery you can imagine other than sterilization. So the first 3 are sterilizations. That last one, it could be anything from an ablation to prolapse to removing a leg, anything other than sterilization. Our volunteers are amazing. Dr. Haddon and I had an opportunity to meet with some core volunteers a couple weeks ago, and totally impressed with them and all that they do. 680 hours they gave us in February. So we're so thankful for what they do. The dog walking team does phenomenal work. They come out and walk every single adoptable or walkable dog so they can get out and have some time. Cat care team, they come and they clean cats and then play with them a little bit during. And that is huge for our cat staff that have to care for those animals. Our visitors went down, 1,479. Website, 37,916, so holding steady there at a good high number. Facebook views, this has a little caveat for that big jump. So Wilson Binkley did do some different advertising for us. It's stuff that when you're scrolling through, it just pops up. It's not an ad that we place. So it does it on Instagram and Facebook. And so it's just you click on it and then it takes you to our Facebook page. So with those ads that are on there, it jumped up considerably to the 21,600 highest that we've ever had. The upcoming events that we have, adoptions, are at McCoy's, Cinder, Cannabis, PetSmart, and then Adopt a Shelter Day is on April 30th. We also have National Animal Care and Control Week is April 9th through the 15th. So we're putting together some thank yous for our coworkers on that day. Here's Joy for our dog of the week, and then she's a female, spayed, about 1 year old. And then Ken is a male, he's neutered, available there at the center. I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Clint. Are there any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item 5.4, committee reports. We'll start with the Finance Committee. Mrs. Bencomo.
Thank you, Chair Sanchez. Yes, the Finance Committee met last week, and as we continue our rotating venues, we met here at the city. And the discussion items included a review of the February financials, a thorough review of revenues and expenditures. You will receive a full quarterly report next month here at the Animal Service Center Board meeting, but through the February financials, there were no particular concerns. We discussed the FY25 budget development, and you'll be seeing that presentation here later in this meeting from Mr. Thacker. Just did a dry run through that, asked a few questions, gave some input on that. And then we talked about some grants. Mr. Thacker gave a report about a TNR grant that was, I believe, was $42,000 that we had been expecting, but it won't be awarded, in fact. But then on the flip side, we were awarded a $56,000 grant for adoption training from Petco Love, so good news on the grant front. And then the last item of discussion we had revolved around bank fees that the Animal Service Center currently pays when someone makes a payment with a credit card. So you know the credit card fees borne by the Animal Service Center. And there was some discussion about whether those fees in future might be charged to those as a convenience fee, similar to what we I know, for example, the county charges if you pay your taxes online with a credit card, you have to pay that administrative fee. So there was just some discussion at this point, no action taken as of yet, but some discussion about direction that the city's going in with bank fees as well. So those were the topics of discussion for the Finance Committee meeting. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Bencomo. Are there any questions on the Finance Committee update? All right. Thank you. All right, next up, we have the Executive Committee. You know, when we, for the Executive Committee, myself, Councilor Corrin, Commissioner Sheljo Hernandez, and Clint met, we discussed the upcoming, well, today's meeting. We also discussed the kind of the rotating schedule that we're going to be having, or that we've put in place with the different members of the board to walk through with the through the Animal Service Center, so that we have, we work on making sure that we're there, as well as understanding the different initiatives that Clint's working on, and the conditions that we're trying to work on improving. The other thing that we discussed is our agenda item 6.1, which I'll discuss here after the facilities update. But that's what I had in my notes. I don't know, fellow board members, I don't think if there was anything else. Oh, no. Okay. But that was our discussion for our executive committee. I don't know if there's any questions from the board. No? Okay, Clint. Oh, yes. Well, we discussed kind of updates for the JPA, and I don't know, Ms. Bencomo, do you have any updates that we can provide right now, or? I know you've been trying to work on getting it, but I just wanted to check, because I think that was also the one of the things we're working on as we get with the JPA, the impending changes that will be coming.
Chair Sanchez, yes, unfortunately, I do not have an update. I did place another call to DFA on Monday. I have also asked both the county legal and the Animal Service Center to have their attorney contact DFA legal as well, in the hope that maybe they will respond to another attorney on this matter. But again, in the past, the only thing I've gotten is a confirmation of receipt of the documentation required, but not a time frame for when we will receive either an approval or any kind of input as to whether any changes need to be made.
Great. Thank you.
Sorry.
No. I mean, I know, like I said, I know we're all awaiting, so I appreciate it. I know we've received updates as, through where we currently stand. I just didn't know if we had any latest, so appreciate all the efforts you've had on this. Thank you, Ms. Bencomo. Thank you, Clint, for the reminder. Oh, okay. Thank you. So the other thing that Mr. Thacker just noted was also the process that we were noting for the citizens that will be on, that will be selected by both the city and the county to be members of this board in the future once that JPA gets approved by DFA. And one of the things we're working on, and I think we were trying to work to see if we might be able to have one process through the city, and then that way we have one point of, hopefully make it easier for members of the public to know they go to one spot to be able to submit their applications, and then based off of residency, then they would be provided to our the county and or the city. And I know that's something that I haven't gotten an answer to yet, but myself, I don't know, Councilor, if you...
I'll follow up again with our city clerk, but I think that actually our boards and committees website already actually suggests that there are openings, even though I think that's due to the prior filtering off. But I'll confirm with our clerk that the process will be that, because we have a normal process for people submitting resumes and filling in their information. And then each of our separate bodies would go through the board process, kind of nomination process to do that. But I'll double check and make sure that that is the way to go, and that if anything comes in right now as far as resumes, we haven't officially started recruiting because we're still in a bit of a holding pattern because it's not officially agreed upon by the state yet, but we even have a sort of job description or suggested sort of recruitment document, I think, that we can use to put out as soon as we're ready to be recruiting. So okay. I will confirm again with the city clerk, and that will come out as soon as we have a sense that it's likely to be approved. So, which we hope, but right now is not confirmed officially. So
okay. And Ms. Ward, I know we'll have to follow up and have discussions. I think the discussion we had as just the executive committee was, rather than maybe having two locations where someone may have to submit based off of that. It was just trying a way to consolidate at least just the submission of resumes, but we'll have to, and the county and the city would still make their own determination, but I think Commissioner Sheldron on this side will have to follow up and make sure that we're all coordinated on that.
Understand.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Ward. All right. Thank you, Clint, for getting me pointed in the right direction with those couple of items. And so with that, that concludes the executive committee updates. So we'll move on to facilities.
Again, good morning. Clint Thacker, Executive Director, Animal Center. Facilities met. We meet really early the first, I want to say Thursday of the month, so February 1st is when we met. But then we were talking about the kennel tops at the new ASCMV, the Adoption Stray Hold Facility. We are still in a holding pattern for that. The vendor needs to submit some information for being a vendor to the city. As soon as they get that completed, then we can move forward on it. We talked about a washer issue. That's a closed washer issue. So they came in. One currently has parts that they had to order that are on back order, so it's non-operable. But the one that we had issues with that runs broke loose of its anchors, and so it was vibrating really bad. So they came in, put larger anchors in, tightened things down with thread lock. So it's still running, and both dryers are currently running right now as well. So that's great news. That's all I really had. Is there anything else? Okay.
Thank you, Clint, for those updates. Okay, agenda item 6.1 under discussion items was to discuss plans for the executive director, Mr. Thacker, and his annual review. I know this is just a discussion item, but I wanted to discuss with the board. One of the things that was, like I mentioned, that we had discussed with the executive committee is that with these changes with the JPA coming, and although Mr. Thacker's annual review is due at the end of the fiscal year, if there's any changes in the board, those new members wouldn't have that experience, or at least most of this year that we've had so far in being able to assess the performance of Mr. Thacker. So what we would like to propose was having this board essentially move up or do the performance evaluation in April for Mr. Thacker. We were hoping to use a similar one that we basically the same form that we used last year. It would be an online form, but that would give us 1 month to prepare, and then we could have that discussion in April. I didn't know if the board would have any concerns or issues with moving it up, but again, it was with those impending changes to the makeup of the board with the approval of the JPA, we thought it might be prudent to, for those of us that have had that experience with Mr. Thacker, those of us that went through his evaluation last time, to be able to do it this time for this fiscal year. So I don't know, board, was there any comments or concerns with that? No? Okay. So what we'll do is we'll plan to have an agenda item with a closed session for his evaluation. We'll also work on getting the evaluation forms sent via email to the board, as well as Mr. Thacker, for them to be able to do the evaluation in advance of the meeting. So hopefully here in the next 2 weeks we'll have those sent out. That way we'll have at least at least 2 to 3 weeks to get those pulled together for the next meeting. Good, okay, all right. Yes, closed session in April. Okay. All right, agenda item 6.2, the discussion and review of the ASCMV fiscal year 25 budget. Mr. Thacker.
I just think if we can just take a moment and everybody take a deep breath, be really relaxed for our presentation. I know I need to. So what I have for you to present to you today is the proposed budget for the FY25 coming up. Just to start off, tell you a little bit about this. I did it a little bit different this year. We separated things into departments. First slide you're going to see is kind of the highlights of some of the changes. I can talk and discuss each one of those. It also breaks down of what is in some of those categories and how much of an increase. And then the next slide you're going to see is like an overview in a table that shows you the change, how much it was, percentage change, and so on. I do want to say thank you to the budget department for the city that assisted and helped with this. Thank you to the finance committee that reviewed it with me and gave suggestions earlier this week. So here we go. Let's dive in. Executive Director Department, it's pretty simple. I had requested some money for some training, so increase of $4,000, and then paid benefits is going up as well, that $5,500. So in all, you're looking at the salary and wages. This includes a cell phone allowance and a vehicle allowance that is given. So you're looking at $11,194 change. That also includes, if the board sees fit, for the salary to meet in the comp study that we saw. So if you say, yeah, let's just meet where the comp study came in at for the director, then that money's there. But if you say less, then we still have that money that's there. See the benefits and deductions. Membership supplies include minor equipment and some food. The supplies is minor equipment that is for my desktop computer. You're going to see later on as well that we really did. Last year we went without on some computers and they're expired this year, so we're kind of just trickling them in as we need to. It's the increase in training. Other includes licenses, registrations, and then memberships, so it's $1,000. However, our capital that we had, this is from grants that were given. Remember, that's how we did the cement floors. It's how we did, or the cement floors at the Get Acquainted areas. It was a large grant given to us for support. So that is gone. So actually, my budget went down 37.4%. Our medical director is our largest ask this year for proposed budget. Now, I have my phone out here, so she's going to text me, I'm sure, about what in the heck are you saying. So if I suddenly change, that's why. She is requesting a surgical assistant. This will be an additional position. That 63.7 includes the benefits and the salary, because what she wants to do is expand operations. So with expanding operations comes a myriad of extra costs. She would like to do, or we are going to move the surgical suite into the old animal or the cat adoptable cat room. If you remember, it had like the VIC area, those new kennels that we have in the medical building, the newer part for the adoptable cats. With the expansion, she needs another person to assist because she's estimated to increase the surgeries by 1,800 surgeries by doing this. And that is without a veterinarian, the new veterinarian position being filled. Of course, if it is filled this year, fantastic, we love it, but it will only add to those numbers as well. So increased surgical supplies, that includes the one-time use, such as the needles and the cloth and the silk to sew up. All those are one-time uses, but it also includes what we call surgery packets. These are packets that have clamps and all the necessities needed, and they're wrapped up and they're put in an autoclave, so they're reusable. But in order to do that increase of surgeries, we're going to replace one of our autoclaves. So you see that there at $10,000 as well. It also includes the surgical supplies will be the need for new tables, another table for surgical. New equipment also calls for another anesthesia machine. We have a O2 scrubber. Right now, all of our oxygen is delivered by service. And what Dr. Haddon would like to do to streamline the process so we wouldn't ever have to wait for deliveries or have to cancel surgeries for deliveries is we have an oxygenator that will be able to create the oxygen right there. With all this also comes some maintenance. The certification for those machines is costly and needs to happen annually. So that's that increase in the $21,000 for the maintenance. We as managers, and also when we are managers talking to our staff, ask what would be beneficial for you. Number one answer is training. So you're going to see training as the number one thing that we increased the most through all of the budgets. And not only can trainings be used as an incentive or a reward for a jobs well done and thank yous, that we do, but also they can see that they are not the only ones in these bad positions or hard positions in the animal industry. It goes all over the U.S. So those trainings is for, some of that is for out-of-state trainings, some of it's for in-state trainings, and then Dr. Haddon also wants her surgery staff, to go to a training where they learn the better and streamlined processes of spay and neuter so they can streamline that process for getting animals through. We also did a reclassification you're going to see. If you remember last budget, we asked for $105,000 for TNR. That money was actually placed in the kennel department as a placeholder until we could figure out how we're going to track the money. Well, we figured that out, so now it's been reclassed, taken out of the kennel and placed into the medical department. You can see there, salary and wages includes the standby comp study, and the comp study is the study that we approved in our last meeting, which, by the way, has been already incorporated, and this is their first paycheck they get this week with that new comp study amount in there. So thank you very much for that. They all love that. Overtime is also included in it, so it's $82,000. That includes the additional person that she is requesting. However, those positions that are vacant now or that are new are funded at 50%. Same with the benefits. While the benefits, we do budget for full benefit, we assume they'll be taking a full benefit instead of half or married, but we do prorate that at 50%. So it's that 63,000 increase there you'll see. And there was an increase in our benefits this year as well. Services include memberships, professional, technical, and purchasing. Professional technical is where that $105,000 came out of from kennel and got placed in director budget. So you'll see there that large increase is mostly that 105,000. Supplies includes the minor equipment, which are computers, anything under, I believe it's $8,000 can be purchased via the minor awards count. Anything over that needs to be capital, so that's why that $10,000 is under capital for the autoclave. Under supplies as well as the general, medical, and uniforms. Training, you see there, again, we increased it by $10,000 to $12,000. And then other is the registration and licensing. Dr. Haddon has several licenses that she needs to cover and that we cover for her every single year. Kennel operations, currently, you'll see there animal caregiver times 4. We are requesting 4 additional animal caregivers for this position. How we came up with that number is the shelter standards has a minimum standard of the minutes, or is minutes that is it hours? I'm so sorry. Hours that it takes animal contact and people contact. So with that minimum that we did, we found that with the animals we have, that it takes 140 We were looking at that, and by the time you get sick leave or sick call-offs, vacations, and also our vacancy rate, we were just under that, barely, when we're fully staffed, but we're hardly ever fully staffed. So, and that was for a minimum. So we asked for 4 additional, that will bring us up past the minimum and also give us, when somebody calls in sick or vacation, then we're able to still have those, that minimum that's required. We are going to be asking for more in the next coming year for the next one, because I don't want to be at the minimum. We want to have the staff that we can get so we can do the additional things that we want, like behavior specialists and like addressing some of the behavior and some of the needs there. Our gloves, it's amazing how fast we're going through gloves. We changed a lot of our cleaning protocols. I wouldn't want to say change, we added to them, would be a better term. For instance, if somebody wants to adopt or see an animal that is sick, on a lot of these animals that are simple like URI, we want them gone out of the center because they heal and get better a lot faster outside that stressful environment. But in order for them to see it, they need to wear gloves and they need to wear booties. Well, that's something we've never done before this year. So it's additional use there. Every time a animal handler or animal caregiver is done with an animal, they change gloves. Every time they clean a cage, they have gloves on. They go to the next cage, they're changing gloves. It's all about disease control, and those gloves are the first barrier. We already have had to move money around to purchase gloves. So that's what that increase is for. Training increase, so our kennel staff can attend out-of-state trainings and see that other ways that they're able to tackle the hard things that they do. That reclassification, again, taken out of kennel, put into medical, so it kind of zeroes out. Minor equipment are for some computers that are expired for their warranty. And then maintenance and repairs. Vehicles continue to be a problem for us. The Ford van continues to break down, and we're working with the city fleet department to figure out what we can do to prohibit that if it's preventive maintenance every single month, but that has become an issue. So we are not, we're adding a little bit of money to that. So we have, however, the building, our brand new building, the adoption stray hold facility, it has a warranty on it right now. So it covers everything but normal wear and tear. So we felt like we could decrease the amount there to upkeep the building. The medical department now, or the medical building, we don't want to do anything to it I don't want to say make better, but we're just holding it as status quo because we do have plans to do a very extensive remodeling for that building. So we reduced it by the $4,700. Am I doing okay? Do you want me to go faster? Okay.
No, I think I appreciate kind of going through that. I don't know, board, if there's, I think we're stay the course.
Okay. Excellent. So this is the overview. Again, salary and wages, standby, comp study, and overtime are all included in there. The thing about kennel workers, animal caregivers, they have to be there every single day. Doesn't matter. So there's overtime with the holiday overtime, paying a little bit more, the time and a half, and then we have also duties. Some duties just have to be completed before they can go home. So overtime at times is earned. We went over the repair and maintenance services, includes temp employees and purchase services. We took out our temp employees. We feel like with our new staffing specialists that we have, and so that streamlined that process significantly to getting employees in. The temp, because we didn't use any of it this year so far. And then purchase services is anytime somebody comes to us to perform a service, that's purchase services. For instance, Roto-Rooter comes to us, we just started doing a preventive maintenance instead of calling them on an emergency when the drains in the kennels are clogged. They come every 2 months? Every 3 months, thank you. And they just jet the lines. So that has worked out really well for it to do that. But that does come with an expense, not as much as it was for emergencies, but it is moving forward. The supplies includes the fuel, some award money. What that means is just small things that can be purchased for all the staff in that department. General supplies, safety, and shop. The kennel operations manager does have the building specialist, who the title is, on there, so they do need some money to buy things at times. The fuel's only $8,000, and it's for just to fill the vehicles going around town. Anytime an animal is on transport and we use a vehicle, it comes out of a different line item. That's why it's so low. This is the biggest jump in our training. It's 1,240%. We went from $500 to $6,700. This will allow 2 people to go out of state and then also do some in-state training as well. Our registration, license, and transport is in other. You'll see there, transport is $25,000 in that line item. That's the biggest one, and that is where hotel charges, anything to do with an animal transport, hotel, food per diems, fuel, things like that, all come out of there. So we're looking at a 9% increase in the kennel operations. Admin services, this group is all of the front staff. It's also the grant writer, the budget analyst, volunteer coordinator, all those other positions as well. The training was increased to $10,000 ask for staff to do some training. Software, we just acquired Digital Cheetah, it's called. It's a volunteer software. It's fantastic at what it's going to solve a lot of our problems. So volunteers are going to be able to sign in instead of in person inside the center. They can just use their phone. It has an app with it. So it is very advantageous for us. So we have to budget for that purchase going forward. Also included in that is whenever you have new employees, like added positions, then you have to do emails, and those cost money as well. So that's part of the software. Advertising, you see an increase of $7,000 to make it $60,000. All that is just keeping up with the inflation or the cost of things to do, where there will not be any added services to that. So we'll expect the same thing for a little bit more money, in other words. Utilities, that was a surprise one for me. We had to increase by $17,000. I thought the new center, it's doubled with having the new center and then also the electrical rates that increased. So both of those equal up to a $96,000 budget there. Admin charge, you see, this is the money that we pay to the city to be our fiscal agents, but they also handle a few other things too. The $22,000 increase is from risk management. We are going to be starting, or continuing, I should say, our alcohol and drug testing that's anonymous. Or random, not anonymous. Random drug and alcohol testing. That's very important as we have DEA Schedule 3 drugs that are on site and access. They are behind 2 lock and keys, but we still want to have that random going on. And then purchase services, again, anytime they come in, this is janitor, that we have 2 buildings now, so that was an increase. We have our pest control now doing 2 buildings, and so on. So it increased. So this is the overview for you. The salary and wages, again, it has that comp study in there, overtime, and then cell phone allowances for some of the staff. The services you'll see are advertising, utilities, phones, audit, and admin charges that we went over. So that's a $99,000 increase. Supplies, minor equipment, general uniform, that actually went down $25,000. Insurance, the liability, workers' comp, and unemployment, that's things that we can't really have control over. So they went up $10,000, they let us know. And then the training we talked about, and other includes registration for those trainings and licenses. We have quite a few licenses. The euthanasia tech licensing is the biggest one. We have a shelter license, we have the DEA license, et cetera, et cetera. So those are almost on an annual basis, but some are every other. So in all, this is going over the entire ASCMV. everything combined. So services comes to $770,140. That's, as you know, we went over the advertising, utilities, admin. The phone charge, we have 2 buildings now or have phones for annual charge, and then our auditing fee of the $15,000. Supplies include the general supplies, software, medical, minor equipment, mostly computers, but also some of Dr. Haddon's minor equipment that she has in for the purchasing to expand her surgeries, and then that small fuel, $8,000. Purchase services, again, the janitor ×2, both buildings, copy machines ×2, because we have several copy machines in both buildings, pest control doing 2. This also includes the TNR that we took from one department, added to the other. Health certificates, this is whenever an animal in our transports, whenever an animal crosses state lines, it must have a health certificate filled out. We do it electronically on a program that autofills a lot of things and saves a lot of time. So that's one of those services that we have. And then anytime, like I said, someone that comes at the center, they come in to provide that service, it falls under purchase services. Professional technical, medical tests, microchips, and sample testing. The medical tests are like the SNAP tests that we do for diagnosis. Microchips required by our ordinances for both the city and the county. We purchase those through there as an increase on those. And then sample testing. So whenever a animal has like a rabies sample that needs to be tested, or like we may have some Giardia and Dr. Haddon takes a sample, sends it up to get a diagnosis. That's how we pay for that. Other includes transport. That's for the animal transports. Registration for the trainings, and then licensing as well. Licensing is not animal licensing, is licensing required by staff in specific positions and for the center. So in all, this is the big picture over everything. So salary and wages includes the comp study, standby, overtime, and contract employees. We do have some of those. We have our grant writer right now is contract. We have several veterinarians that are contract that come with us, that come in and do a couple times a month as well. We kind of went over all this. Service includes the advertising, utilities, and so on. Supplies is general, medical, minor equipment. So in all, we're looking at a 15.4% increase. So what does that mean for the city and the county? It means that we are increasing the ask by $518,623. So that means the $2,566,807 from both the city and the county request. And that is a 25.3% increase.
Clint, can you go back to the previous slide for us, please? Or
Yeah.
the one before this too. Thank you.
What's that?
So your change from column B and A is 728,765, but you're asking for over $1 million. Where's that difference? And that's where I'm not following.
Okay.
And I think, if I might jump in really quickly, I think the difference, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that the 728,000 is for new changes, but you're also including the increase in salary that we just approved with that, and that's where we get to the $1 million? Because you were originally taking the salary increases from this budget out of savings, but now to cover them next year, we're gonna have to, that's gonna have to come out of increased contributions.
That should have been.
That is in your salary and wages.
Okay, so then I guess the question is, it's the same question then.
Yeah.
But also, Clint, really quick. So the FY budget for increased salary and wages should be over $700,000 due to the fact that we increased the salary contribution by $500,000 at the last meeting. and you're adding on positions that equal 285,000, you should be in the $700,000 range for needed salaries for the 25 budget. Is that correct?
Well, we budgeted the vacant positions and also the additional positions at 50%
Okay.
is one. And then same thing with the benefits as well. They're all done at 50%.
Okay. So where's the difference between the 1 million and the 728?
Come on down, Mike. I know part of it is so you look at this one, the 5,133,000, that is not the ask. The ask is for 5.4, but with our revenue that we have, reduce that ask down. So that's why it's that 5.1 is different than the 5.4. I'll turn the time over to Mike to be able to discuss more about the difference of the 728 that we're asking, or the change, and then the 1 million that we're requesting from the city.
Good morning, Board. Mike Fashini with the Animal Services Center. The revenue, what we look at as far as what we need to be able to cover those expenses of $5.474 million, we look at each of the areas that are contributing, what the city needs to contribute, what the county needs to contribute, and what the center contributes in the way of operational revenue. And when you put all three of those together compared to what our ask is, the additional amount of monies that we're looking for is, and I think, are we still keeping in your contribution? Oh, okay. So there's only 3 contributions to make up for the ask: city, the county, and operational revenue. And in order to get that, there's a worksheet, slide that's not in here, that identified what each area had to contribute to make up the 5.474. From last year, from 4,745, which was at a contribution of, I think, 1.75 million from the city to the county. I get it. There was about 345,000 from operational. That has increased to 355 this year, and the city and county increases to 2.566 million.
So this does then include the monies that were allocated at the last meeting for salary increases?
Yes.
But that came out of...
It's a carryover from, since we're implementing the salary increases in this fiscal year, which came to approximately $160,000. However, what's important to note is that $160,000 does not include any new hires or any vacancies. It's just people in their seats. That's it.
Okay, so what is the difference between the 758,000 that you are showing in the previous slide that is needed to cover that difference and the $1 million? Is, so if you go back, you're at $4,096,000 for fiscal year 24. If you'll go back 2 slides for me. You're at $4,745,000 for fiscal year 24 revised. What I'm asking is, what is that difference between fiscal year 24 in the budget and fiscal year 24 revised? Because you have an increase of $700,000.
The best way I can describe that or explain that is each of the areas that Clint went through to identify under repairs and maintenance, supplies, services, salaries and wages, and so on. All those come to that dollar amount and changes.
I think one thing that we're confused about is this change is 728,000. This change is 1 million. So, but why? Shouldn't this change be the 1 million to show how much we need, minus the 300? $345,000 from the revenue of this, of us.
I understand the question. If I were to back out the $300,000 that you're talking about, the difference between here and the other slide, this slide, you wouldn't have enough money to cover the expenses. And I think it might be important to note that last year, there was also a difference between these two slides as well. It just seems to be that the additional ask, or the additional amount of money which is needed to cover the expenses that are projected or budgeted for fiscal year '25, it just comes out that way. Now, I don't have anything here in front of me prepared to say, here's what makes up the $300,000. So I don't think I can answer that at this point. I mean, answer that at this point.
Yeah. So, I guess what I would ask, and I'm not sure if this is the last slide. Okay. I just have a couple of notes. I think specific to what is being presented, and that there's a significant difference between what I think is in the presentation and what is here, and what I would hope for in the presentation. It looks like you're scheduled to present this to City Council at a work session on April 22nd. And so I guess, to me, what I would like to see in understanding the budget and making it, I guess, really as transparent as possible and as clear as possible is existing expenses, increasing salaries to existing positions, the number of new positions that are being hired and proposed, and what the associated cost with that, and whatever new services are being proposed as part of the $1 million increase in budget. And to me, this presentation actually muddied that really significantly. I couldn't tell where new positions were. I couldn't tell where mandatory increases in benefits that are an assumed expense that is not something that we would change versus what is sort of a discretionary addition to benefits. So I would like to just ask that, first of all, the percentage changes on several of them, starting with slide 3, is incorrect. There are also a number of pluses and minuses that appear throughout that don't correspond necessarily with anything on these slides. So I think there's some, definitely it's not clear to me, the $105,000 that went from surgical to kennel appears with both pluses and minuses in 2 different places. So that seems like it creates some unclear things. So I guess for me, it's very difficult to parse out what's happening in this presentation. And I'm pretty familiar with the documents that we see in terms of financial documents. I anticipate that at any city council meeting, the questions will be something to the effect of, please tell us what are new services and new positions and what the expense for those are. Please tell us what the existing salaries are and the expected increase in wages and benefits that comes with that. Those are the kind of things that I would anticipate folks will be wondering, as I am now. So I think, for me, that disparity between the $300,000, it might be explicable. I would expect it to be transparently clear when we look at the overall kind of budget changes. So I guess for me, part of the issue here is that I'm not really clear on new expenses, existing expenses, continuing expenses, and of course the unfilled positions and how that money is being leveraged is always something that we're talking about. And I would just ask somehow that those things be made more clear in any upcoming presentations. I don't know. Those are the notes that I have specific to sort of how I would hope to understand this better, because I don't know that the explanations you're offering necessarily get us there. So.
All right, thank you very much for that constructive criticism. I really appreciate it. My question is, does the going by program muddy the waters more? And it should just be a table of overview saying we expanded this, we asking for these positions. Should that be more of the gear there? direction?
I think we can understand the programmatic differences, but I think where changes come in, if they're related to new positions or new services or just increasing things, I think that those new expenses are which we could see by program or not. But it looks like, given all of these things, and then at the very end, there's a $300,000 difference, it feels like there needs to be a little bit of reconciliation, whether it's one chart that shows everything as a plus and minus. And again, each of these slides in between has pluses in some places and minuses in some places that make it quite unclear. So I think it is useful to see, for instance, kennel to medical, that I think it is useful to understand from a programmatic perspective that that's a shift that is happening, but seeing how that plays out in the budget would be very helpful, as opposed to kind of this type of description, I guess. Sorry. And that's just my hope is, yes, I would like a chart that says plus, minus in each column, that actually reflects then the final ask. So.
And just to build off that really quick, Clint, I think part of the issue that I'm seeing is that you have, if you'll go to the third to last slide, you do have the right there. You do have the revised budget, which I think is great, but your actuals is what you're going off of is for fiscal year 24, the original budget, but you're not explaining in this budget where that difference of the $700,000 came from, because it's we're going back into 25 now, and there's still no reconciliation of that 700, close to, it's 600 some odd $1,000. That's from the revised to the actual from 24. So you're asking for that again, but you're not explaining it in the expenses of the ASCMV. So that's why your totals are even off even more, because you're asking for 5.4 million, saying that's an increase of 728. But then on the last slide, you're saying it was fiscal year 24 is at 4 million and you're going to 5.1. So you're not clearly explaining to the board how you go from 4 to 4.7, what's that difference, and then 4.7 to 5.1, which is a difference of 300,000, not a difference of, if you'll go back to not a difference of 728. Does that make sense? Because you're going from 4.7 to 5.1 and saying it's 700,000, and then here you're saying that it's a difference of 1. I don't know if that makes any more sense or not, but it would be nice if we could see the fiscal year 24 to fiscal year 25. I understand that we did a revised budget to get everything done, but we're not accounting for those expenses. So it really, if that makes sense, I think that's where we're having issues, is with the revised versus the fiscal and the $1 million increase.
I understand Mike did have that portion of that information in, and I'm the one who took it out. So just so you know, it was there. We can make this sound a lot better. And I just want you to know, I plan on rewatching this. I'm not writing things down, because I'll rewatch it and get all the information. So.
Thank you. And I'd have to reiterate from my colleagues, and I think particularly as Councilor Corrin had mentioned, I believe you'll also be presenting to the County Commission here in a couple of weeks as well. And so I think for what it's worth, I think, and this is just the way that I take information. I love having, the breakdown on a sheet, even like how we have our audited financials, a high level of what we're doing before and after in front of me. But when you do the presentation, it just breaks this, you kind of highlight those changes. You don't have to necessarily have the spreadsheet up, but I think if we can understand the differences and how those are made up, I think it'll help us understand exactly, because I think exactly those questions that the counselor had mentioned, those will be something similar that will come up with the county commission when we're wondering, okay, now we're increasing by, the request is by $500,000, where is that going to go and what is that going to get, what are we, not only say what are we getting for that, but what's really that makeup of for that increase and why. And so that way we have a better understanding of the request.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments, questions on the budget presentation? Okay. Thank you, Clint. All right. We're moving on to the action items portion of our agenda at 7.1. A resolution authorizing the governing board for the Animal Services Center of the Mesilla Valley to approve the annual financial report for the year ending June 30th, 2023. Mr. Saffel, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Josh Saffel, and on behalf of the Finance Department of the City of Las Cruces, I'd first like to recognize the hard work of the accounting department, and especially Ms. Veronica Ulloa, who was responsible in putting together the annual comprehensive financial report. Also, too, we received much help in this from the staff of the ASCMV, so again, we're thankful for that and want to recognize all of their hard work. But again, just to present to you the annual comprehensive financial report, or the ACFR for short. I'd like to invite up Mr. Jesse Olivar, who is with Patillo, Brown and Hill, and he will provide just a brief summary.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate that. Okay. Today I'll be presenting the auditor's report of the financial statements. First, I want to go over the opinion. The Animal Service Center received an unmodified opinion. This is the cleanest opinion you can receive, so great job, you guys. The financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. Next, in the report, you will see a report on internal controls. When we are designing our test work and what we're going to look at, we consider internal controls. However, we do not provide an opinion on those internal controls. We just want to get an understanding of what controls are in place, identify any weaknesses, and also test the effectiveness of those. As you can see, there were no findings on this report. So no findings on the internal controls, so great job. There are some matters that needed to be communicated with the governing body that we are required to present. Are there any difficulties encountered in performing the audit? We did not encounter any difficulties. Everything was provided in a timely manner. Lines of communication were great with management and the rest of the staff. So thank you for that. That's really important when we are conducting our audit. Next. If there's any significant audit adjustments, those are required to be presented to you all. The board needs to know if there's any adjustments that needed to be made that are significant and considered material. Again, you can see that there were no significant audit adjustments, so the financial staff is doing really well on that. In addition, there are no uncorrected adjustments. Here is where something may not be material that could be documented, but we did not have any in the fiscal year of 23. Next, I'll be presenting if there were any findings. As you can see, in fiscal year 23 and 22, which is our current and prior year findings, we had none. So great job on that. And lastly, we want to go over the financial highlights. This is in regards to the general fund and looking at revenues and expenditures over the last 4 years, fiscal years for that matter. As you can see, we are fairly even with revenues being about 4.1 million, and same goes for expenditures. Revenues in fiscal 23 increased approximately 400,000. Primarily for the increase in contributions from Doñana County in the amount of $300,000. Expenditures also increased roughly $500,000. This is primarily due to the increase in personnel expenditures, around $500,000, like I said. And that is a brief summary of the audited report. Are there any questions for me?
Thank you, Board. Are there any questions on the audit report? If there's not, I'll say thank you. Appreciate the time that you all took to do this. I'm excited to see that obviously the unmodified report, but in particular there were no significant findings or even recommendations. I really appreciate the financial team from the ASCMV and the City of Las Cruces. Thank you all so much for all you do. The work's definitely reflected in these audit reports, and appreciate it. And Clint, thank you so much as well for all the support you and your team did for this.
Yes, it is much appreciated. So thank you very much for having me.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
All right, board. We have this item up for approval. If we might be able to get a motion and a second to approve the financial report for the year ending June 30th, 2023. All right, we have approval by Councilor Graham.
Second, Sheldra Hernandez.
A second by Commissioner Sheldra Hernandez. Is there any other comments on this agenda item?
Board Member Ward?
Yes.
Board Member Bencomo?
Yes.
Board Member Graham?
Yes.
Board Member Sheila Hernandez?
Yes.
Board Member Karan?
Yes.
Chair Sanchez?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. The item is approved. Okay. All right, we're on to agenda item number 8, which is public input. If there's members of the public that would like to come up and speak, I'd like to invite you all to come up now. I will be limiting this to, or putting the timer on for 2 minutes. So we will, so if you see the clock here, we will be monitoring, or at least having the time, so.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Well, we're talking dollars and cents. Kathy Stark. And I'm really here to ask you, before you finalize the budget, that you go back and set aside the revised salary range for the vacant veterinarian position. It's been vacant for over 3 years now. And to the best of my knowledge, we haven't had any qualified applicants. And there's a term for doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I have corresponded with Clint. We met yesterday. And just to give you a little bit of context, while I have let my certifications lapsed, I was certified SPHR and I was certified as a compensation professional and have done salary studies, both public and private sector. And it's common practice when you do salary studies for a hard-to-fill position, and I look at the veterinary position as one, you look at police officers, that's another, is to cast a very wide net because you are trying to recruit from a very small pool across the country. Then you geographically adjust that. And I was talking to Clinton yesterday, if you look at cost of employment in Michigan or New York, it's much higher than it is here. And there's formulas that you geographically adjust that to make comparisons that are compatible. The other thing is to make the decision whether or not it is your intent to lead the market to try and attract a qualified candidate, meet the market, or lag. Currently, in my opinion, the revised recommendation, you're still lagging. You're at 98% of the market that they determined. You have additional challenges here. You have a high kill shelter, which for new vets coming out of school probably doesn't look real attractive. We have inadequate ordinances to get control of the overpopulation, and we have inadequate funding to help people access the services to get those animals spayed and neutered. That's it.
And if you want to go ahead and wrap up and kind of summarize.
I will. There's just 2 points here. I don't have access to all the data that I used to have. When I look at El Paso, their full-time veterinary position has a maximum of $166,250. Now, I'm not saying they're paying that, but that's their maximum. With the revised recommendation, our maximum is $143,000. The other thing that I know for certain is Valencia County hired their first veterinarian in a 3-month period, same benefits, because it's public sector and compares with Las Cruces, at $150,000. The other point that I would make is when you look at ZipRecruiter and drilling down on ZipRecruiter, what they're doing is changing almost every day as job postings come up for a bit. They're changing what they're saying is the average pay in those posts, and that average pay is 146.
Okay.
So if we're serious, we need to get serious.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Stark. Okay. Any other members of the public that would like to speak? I'd like to welcome you to come up. Good morning. If you'll state your name for the record as well.
I'm Cheryl Hain.
Thank you.
I just had 2 quick points. One was I wanted to thank the community, Clint Thacker, Dr. Hayden, Rusty, for their contributions to helping get the old building reopened. We met with Mr. Thacker and Dr. Hayden, and our understanding is that within 2 months' time from that meeting, that it would be reopened again so the public can view the 174 animals that are housed there, or most of them, excluding medical animals, of course. And Rusty and the community for donating the cleaning supplies to clean that building, and Rusty for cleaning, and his company for cleaning it, or working on cleaning it. So I wanted to thank all of them. And then I work with a group of animal advocates, including myself, other rescues, others just across the community. My rescue, which as soon as the IRS gets on the ball, I'll have finalized. But just wanted, because this is an election year and we like to be transparent, to let all of the members of the board know that we have a committee that's going to be requesting to meet with everybody who's running for office or re-running for office with the intent on creating we call it a voter's guide for animal welfare in our community, and want to encourage you all to take the time to meet with us, because we'd like to get that voter's guide put together, outlining accomplishments that people feel they have made and their commitments to changes in the future. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you all?
Good. And if you would say the name for your record, please.
I'm Rusty Singleton. I'm with Prickly Pear Services.
Thank you.
We're the company that's donating our time to clean the shelter. I was kind of looking at this budget that you guys had. I didn't see much on cleaning. Me being in there, the duct work, there's a lot of debris and stuff that need to be cleaned. The kennels need to be focused on. So we need to spend a little bit more time with your budget and figuring out a company or a solution to keep these kennels clean for the citizens to go in here and view, along with this big new facility that you guys had put up. It's amazing. But like I said, every time that we come in here or go into that facility, we're donating our time in there. But like I talked to Clint, I said, I'm going to do this until the whole committee and everybody figures out what they're going to do. So, like I said, we need to focus on budget for cleaning, big time cleaning, ducts, anything, drains. I saw something on here that was like $4,000 for cleaning, janitorial. We need bigger janitorial, not just a mop and a bucket. It doesn't work that way. The chemicals, communities donated. Time, gas, and labor, I've donated. So I appreciate Clint letting me in there to get it done. I appreciate all the community for the help, and I appreciate you all letting me be in here to do this also. But like I said, my main concern is the animals and their safety in that facility. It needs to be clean. If it's not healthy for a human, it's not healthy for an animal. The smell in there is a lot of the ductwork. It's being recycled, and you have a lot of dander. I don't know if you folks have seen the videos of what I've posted on the cleaning, but it needs to be focused on a little bit more, okay? Once we're done with that, and I'm pretty much hoping that the parvo, kennel cough, and all that stuff is washed out of that area. Each room that we go into, it has been deep cleaned and sanitized, so there is nothing in there, okay? So please, just take up throw some more money in for cleaning, find a company.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Hello. My name is Sarah Gallagher. I have been a foster for the shelter as well as the Big Mutt Network. Not nearly as much as I'd like to be, but as much as I can. I am a part of all the Facebook groups that I can think of in the community, trying to see what the needs are. And I was surprised and somewhat saddened a number of months ago when I saw a Facebook post shared from the shelter asking desperately for fosters for dogs that had until the end of the day or a couple of days before they were euthanized for various reasons. And doing some digging, I realized that the shelter has a number of Facebook pages. They have their main site that has 14,000 followers. They have a foster group that I can't even access, even being a foster myself, or a registered foster. They have an admin group, they have a rescues partner group, and they have a transfer partners page. The rescue partners have 287 members, and the transfer partners have 81 members. And I'm concerned about the lack of visibility of the shelter's needs into the community. If 14,000 people are following on the main page, but all they get are the thank yous to the rescues that are helping with the dogs, or here's our next adoption event, and of course they get the stats, but I'd like the 14,000 members of that page to have the opportunity to help as much as possible. And to me, that means making these dogs and cats visible, making the needs more visible. That might even include making the euthanized animals visible. Give us a chance to see where we're failing these animals. Give us a chance to say goodbye. Give us a chance to get some momentum behind coming to you guys and demanding new laws for spay and neuter so that we can be proactive rather than reactive. May I just wrap up?
Yeah, please.
Thank you. But a free and easy thing to do would be to post these needs onto that main page and to really make things more visible so that people can not only see what our community is up against, but be given the opportunity to help as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public input?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Renee Chavez, and I am a community advocate for the animals. I can't do as much as I'd like to do, but I keep track and try to help with the animals. First of all, I wanted to thank Mr. Thacker and for opening up that old building and allowing everybody to get in there and to see, to be able to see the animals and to get it, to move forward. So I wanted to thank him and the team and everybody that worked on that, first of all. I also, as an advocate, as a taxpayer, that's why I'm here. I know Mr. Thacker had a question, well, who are you? I'm a taxpayer, and I do care about the animals, and I do want to see things happen. I do want to work together. One of the main things is transparency. What I see a flaw in as the same thing as Ms. Karan did is the audits. It needs to be transparent. We need to know, the public needs to know where our money's going, how it's being spent. We need to be able to view these things, and also need to know that where benefits are helping the animals. I know that everything is costly. We're growing in leaps and bounds, but we need to see it also. The community needs to see it. We need consistency. We need to have those audits. We need to have an auditor that maybe can do monthly. Something needs to be worked out, and that's why I'm here speaking up about it. I'm one of many advocates for the city, the community, and I want to thank all of the community advocates, rescues, everybody that's trying to pitch in. We're all trying to work together, and that's why I'm speaking up today. Most importantly is with the audit. I think that we would benefit from that. That would clear up, bring some clarity to things for everybody, because I noticed that the board had a lot of questions in that area as well. So if we could move forward in that area also and try to keep the old building open to view all of the animals that are there. The public does need to see them, as Mr. Springer, the gentleman, the kind gentleman that has stepped up to help with the cleaning and to get rid of all of that, it's just so important for us to be able to know so that we can know where to help and pitch in and donate. We've got so many people doing so many things. Thank you for your time, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez.
You're welcome. One question. Is it possible for someone else to yield over their time, like another person, instead of her speaking, to give their 2 minutes to someone else that may have a lengthier?
I think not at this time.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Ron Camo. I'm with Lucy Stream Rescue in El Paso. I'm here because you're doing your budget, and I want you to understand what's happening in the background. El Paso had implemented the HOS program, and it is a limited intake issue. I heard through the grapevine Las Cruces wasn't implementing the whole program, but parts of it. Please let me explain. Each and every part of the HOS program focuses around limited intake. You cannot limit intake in cities like El Paso and Las Cruces. Your strays are unaltered. They're unvaccinated. If you look at El Paso, we are now in the process of building another brand new, well, not brand new, we're revamping a school, shelter. So we're gonna end up having 2 shelters plus the building on Socorro Road. So we've gone from 1 shelter physically to 3 because of the amount of strays running the streets of El Paso because of the HOS program. The HOS program is pushed by Best Friends, Austin Pets Alive, and Maddie's Fund. It's a failure. If you look at Ellen Jefferson's newest emails, she's actually now pushing for a new program and trying to get another $40 million. These big dollar animal advocate groups, they collect all this money and then they put 3 to 5% of that money back into helping with animals. We're supporting the wrong facilities. El Paso had a no-kill plan implemented in 2016, which worked. We never should have changed it, and that was been agreed upon. And now we've gone back pretty close to open intake, trying to get the issue straightened out. You cannot leave unaltered strays running the streets without creating more strays. We have more disease, more dog bites, and more strays. It's insane. Please, if somebody comes up to you and says, this is the program to use, run. Don't walk, run. It's a disaster. And it's from California to Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, that people, the rescues, are getting together and fighting this program. So it's not just the small groups in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Is there any other public input? All right, thank you so much for participating and sticking with us until the end of the meeting here. We'll move over to chair and board comments. Is there any comments from the board at this time? No? Not seeing or hear. Commissioner?
Actually, I do just want to say to anyone that is giving public comment, if you did run out of time, if you can please just follow up with an email to the board members. Our emails are on the website. It's a great way to get in contact with us and express your concerns again if needed. I find it valuable, and it always re-triggers my mind to take a look at it further. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments? All right. And with that, we've reached the end of our agenda at this time, so we will, if I can get a motion and a second to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Sheldra Hernandez.
I have a motion by Commissioner Sheldra Hernandez.
Second, Graham.
A second by Councilor Graham. If there are no objections, then we'll call this meeting adjourned at 10:54 a.m. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you next month. But I will reiterate, thank you for those that did come. If there are further concerns, please reach out to the board members as well. So thank you, Commissioner, for bringing that up.